Dude, it is dry as a button down there. Thank God. I can just go do some pulls and haul some ass. All right. We are back at it. For any of you that might know about this car and are curious and concerned about where it's been and why you're not seeing drift content, the transmission's out for the third time. When I put this thing together, I was convinced that the upper case did not go onto its little cedar rivets properly. It didn't seat properly on one of the sides. There's just a big gap. And called my buddy over. He said, yeah, it's no good. Take it off and redo it since the motor's already out. So I did. I thought it was a good idea. Just wanted a second opinion. Took it off. He said, way too much gasket glue on here, use less. I questioned it, did it anyway, and right now obviously we're leaking from that corner over there. And we got the car put together. The new bearings survived. The king bearings are doing great. If you are concerned about the king bearings, this spun a rod. I did the evaluation, the rebuild, the new bearings, miking it, all the how-to and step-by-step on how to redo this bottom end on this car without taking the head off while still taking the motor out. That's a video series that I've already done, so go check those out. I'll put the iCard right here. Maybe just click on this iCard for those videos if you want, but obviously come back here. That being said, we put it together, we started up. It was leaking from the bell housing, which is one little hole in the bell housing base where fluid can leak out so it doesn't puddle up inside the bell housing for the transmission. And it was leaking. We took it out. We thought it was the old return that wasn't even tightened yet. And another one or two things, clean that up, put it all back together. Still leaked, and now we're back here. I think this will be the third time. Not to mention the starter problem we had. Spec sent me back my wrong flywheel, and then pretty much just robbed me of other stuff. But I sent my flywheel to Spec to be resurfaced because it was their lightweight flywheel, and they sent me back the wrong one, I guess by accident. Not mine, somebody else's. It had too many T's, so I had a starter bind situation. Wouldn't start the car. I had to pull it out, situate that first. Then we found out about the leak, then we pulled it, thought we fixed it, which I redid the seal. The transmission seal was actually leaking where the input snout comes out, and I took that OEM gasket out and just put silicone there. It's been fine ever since. That's over there fine and not leaking. Put it back together, leaked again. Found out it was that leak, took it apart, thought it was the old leak, from the return, so I swapped that out, or I fixed that, tightened it, cleaned it, put it back up. Officially leaking uppercase now, so right now it's off the mounts. It's just sitting on the cross member, so to speak. I'm going to go ahead and get the bolts out, which the bolts go from 1, 2 to the other side, 3, 4, and then 5, 6, etc. outwards, and that's how you get the uppercase off. And the lower pan is actually undone. It's just chilling there, keeping oil in and whatnot. But I'm going to go ahead and get this uppercase separated and redo the gasket, put it back together, and officially have this car back on the road for the first time. And I mean, it's been weeks since I drove it last, but at least now it'll be, it'll be on the road for good. But give me just a second and I'll film, I'll film a little bit more as I get it going and get the process rolling. All right, now that we've got all this apart, First off, with the oil pan, it's pretty simple. Unbolt it all. You can do it in sequence, so I'm pretty sure it really doesn't matter how you do it. But I go from the outside in, or the inside out, I'm sorry. Inside out, put a screwdriver in there, tap it in, pry it apart. Takes about 10 minutes, nothing crazy. So right here is where we're leaking, where the upper case meets the block. So I've got, apparently it's these 2 screws, then 2 up front, then start from the outside and go in, and we'll have the upper case off. But as you can see right there, there is a puddle of fluid, and that is our issue. Once we get that done, we can hear blow off again. In order to do an uppercase gasket, you'll need an engine lift if you don't want to pull it out of the car. I'm going to lift mine. Hopefully I'll get enough room to do so. I actually had to undo my downpipe because I would get my engine up so high that the downpipe right here from the bottom of the cabin and the downpipe were hitting. So I needed more room, so I undid the downpipe and then I could get access to it. And after I undid all the bolts, you just shove a screwdriver on the passenger side, tap it in there, pry, and it'll come right apart. It looks like I have enough room to get it done, so if everything works out, it should be a day or 2 before this thing's back on the road. If you don't want to go crazy, strap one of your intake ports or 2 of your intake ports, hit the T3 housing, lift your engine that way. This plate, this snout right here, this input shaft, this plate back here with the bolts in it, that's what I had to replace gasket glue, with gasket glue. We've already got the upper case back off. We have it all cleaned up. It's been pressure washed, razor bladed, the whole 9. This time it will not leak. And I'm about to go up in here and I'm about to start scraping the rest of the glue off the bottom of this block. It's actually like nowhere on the block, so it should be relatively quick. Get it all glued back up, throw it back on, and lickety split. Looks pretty good. Bearing's still good. It's ready to go drift. Oh my gosh, all right. We are done again. We got the upper case on. Everything's all glued up. Looks pretty legit. It's all good down there, down the side. Still got to put some oil in it and find out if we fix the problem, but now that it's done. There's a front shot so you can see all the RTD came out nice. I just got done putting the sump in. I got one more bolt, and then the upper pan after the oil baffle goes back in. Pan will go on, and then we're pretty much ready to drop it back down. And if you're curious, this is how I have the motor up high enough to do the upper case. It's probably up a good 8 or 10 inches. And I'm just using an engine lift right now. I got it wrapped around 2 ports on the intake and the T3 for the turbo. Seems to be working out. All right, got ourselves a status update. Everything is going good so far. We've got just 4 quarts of oil in it right now, and everything seems to be sealed okay. Nothing's leaking so far. Ultimately, we won't know until we get the car started and the motor running, as far as whether or not it's still leaking, but we have to get it put back together in order to find that out. Unfortunately, for the flywheel, I have a XTD because I got pretty much ruined by spec. I don't even want to go to that particular story. On the flywheel, I went to 93 foot-pounds. I did 3 sets, 33 foot-pounds, 66 foot-pounds, and I think I did like 94 foot-pounds on the flywheel. Clutch tool, clutch disc in, make sure your FW side is for flywheel side. That goes on the flywheel side, obviously. And then the clutch, I'm doing it 14 pounds and 22 foot-pounds. So now you have your torque increments for SR20 clutch system. If you don't have it already, if you haven't seen it elsewhere and you were on this video anyway, here it is for you. 14 and 22 foot-pounds for the clutch disc, clutch plate, pressure plate, whatever you want to call it. Flywheel is 33, 66, 92. It's like 94 through 101. I think I did 94, 96, who knows. It'll work, it'll hang in there, and it's just an update. In about an hour we'll have everything put back in, and we'll be ready to rock and roll. Drive shaft bolts left. Everything's pretty much done. I need to put these drive shaft bolts in. We need to put the starter in, which is 2 bolts, 2 wires for the starter. Make sure my bottom bolts and my turbos put back in, because I undid my downpipe to get the motor higher so that I could get the upper case off. I needed more room. So once we get that done, we'll be able to start her up, test her for leaks. And all right, it would appear that I have a 9/16 wrench. I'm not sure if your downpipe or your drive shaft bolts have been changed out or not, but I'm using both ratchet wrench. But you don't have much room on the backside, so this has ended up hand wrenching. Once we get done with this, which is almost done, we'll be done with the starter and the trans. Drive shaft is done. I'm working on the starter right now. You have one slip-on power, and then you have this piece here. It's like a little battery hook, little terminal you put on the starter. That's it. I am using right now a 12.14 millimeter. That's what got the bolts in for the starter. I have to take the top trans bolt out to put this breather for the transmission back on. This is a vent tube, but just like your motor, you need this on the transmission or you're stupid. Since the upper case came off, I went ahead and re-primed the motor. Even though it's already been primed and run before, it was emptying out for quite a few days. There was probably a good 6 hours where the bottom of the engine was off, and it had time to get everything out of there. So I disconnected my ignition harness for the spark plugs there, and then I unplugged the injectors and I reprimed the motor just to be safe. With all the unluckiness I've had with this car, every little bit is a why not at this point. But it turned over fine. There was no knocks. I'm about to take a look and see if there's a leak right now from just priming the motor, and then we'll start it. But I don't think there will be any leaks, since I pretty much made sure that we have enough RTV to solve the leaking problem once and for all, because I believe this is the third or fourth time the trans has gone back in since the rod bearing. Dun-dun, 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 dun-dun. I don't see any fluid, so we just ran it. I'm about to run it again for you. I don't see anything. Thank God. A lot of people are not that hyped up about them, but I'm pretty fortunate and happy to have one because I've got a lot of kids, so I should be fortunate to have everything I have, but I cannot get over the cams in this thing. Thank God, it starts right up. Literally shakes the car. She seems good so far. Any extra starts that I can get to make the leak happen again, if it's gonna happen, is what I'm aiming for. I'm gonna give it about 20 minutes to sit and see if it's gonna leak again. I'm gonna throw my nifty turbo blanket on with the nifty springs that it has to go with it, and I'll be able to pull this thing out the driveway, maybe get another shot, maybe even go get some blow off here in a minute with the head strap mount. Get the sway bar put on. I'm gonna pull this thing out in the sun. A good sun picture for the Instagram. I finally got the springs on for the turbo blanket. It looks sick. It's awesome. It makes it look way better. Well, there you have it. She is officially done. Let me tell you, this engine bay just pops in the daytime. I mean, I hope we can get this on camera, because gee whiz. I mean, for rattle can, yum-y. Yum, yum, yum. Let's not speak too early. Let's take a look. Dude, it is dry as a button down there. Thank God. I could just go do some pulls and haul some ass. All right. That will conclude the 240SX for the day. Stay tuned. We will be doing some very turned up shit. If you like this, please give it a big thumbs up. If you're new here, please subscribe. If you have a car or a truck, which is back that way, and a boat, this is a channel for you. Please subscribe. I'll go ahead and kick it to the outro now. Thanks. Do it for the people.